There's a call to order for the April meeting of the Calvert City Planning Commission. First item of business to be approval of the minutes from March 18th meeting. You have those in front of you. Any questions or comments or what say you? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Motion by Garrett, to hear a second. Second by Bill, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed say aye. Take care of that. All right, now we want to take a center. Discussion of roads, roads. You want to do that? Mark Wine's here to talk to the.
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you'd like to do.
Well, I just did, since he's here on the visit, he's off that, but he's got a request, so if you want him to go first, or you want to do Loves. Come on, Mr. Devine. There, Mark.
Is that all right?
I need to, I need to give up mine. All right. No, you don't. Oh, not this time. So.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the time to discuss this matter with you all. I would like to discuss an entrance to some property on the Calvert City. The property is at East 9th Avenue and 95. I've been told that the entrance is out of compliance. The entrance, your question, has been in existence there for at least 35 years. It is now being used by utility companies, cable, electric, and so on. I have owned the property for 10 years. 1 or 2 utility trucks a month use that entrance to work around the area, utility area. I recently drove a truck and trailer through there while it was extremely wet, causing ruts. The ground is dry, a graded drive with a tractor blade for utility trucks to use. By doing this, it possibly made it more noticeable, but I did not place any fill or gravel in the existing area. John Ward contacted me and told me that the entrance on East 9th 95 was out of compliance. I told him I've owned the property for at least 10 years and always had an entrance. Afterwards, I spoke with people who are now retired from the telephone and power companies. They both vividly remember pulling into the field and working on the wiring mounted on power poles. Both companies remember the access dating back to the 70s. Sent John Ward a letter and photograph of utility truck pulled into the lot using a bucket to perform needed maintenance. Explained the situation that I recently pulled in when the ground was saturated, causing ruts. Once the ground is dried, I used a tractor and grader to smooth the area. He called me and I tried to explain the above. He did not question if it had been existing. He just said it was out of compliance. 2 days later, I saw the city maintenance crew with a backhoe moving gravel around, dumping a partial load of gravel in the middle of what used to be the entrance. Now I cannot enter or exit. I expressed to John that I was not satisfied with the answer. He invited me to make my case before the planning and zoning meeting. I do not like to become someone else's problems and have to present my case. But at this time, I feel like John is backed me in the corner. And it's my next option. We live in a town of approximately 2,500 people, and I'm hopeful and optimistic we can work something out. We'll pass out some photograph examples in a minute to illustrate a point. And operating on a shoestring budget, I didn't always have this many here. So I have 7 that you might have to share. Okay. There. And I've got First, I found all these out of compliance problems in 20 minutes. Secondly, John drives by some of these properties a couple times a day, yet for some reason he has pinpointed my corner lot as an out of compliance problem. Lastly, all these properties in the photos are closer to the highway than my entrance. It is my hope that all of these properties, including mine, would be considered grandfathered in. I would hope that the city does not do what they did to my property and block the entrance and exit with their equipment. Lastly, it is my hope that the entrance will be put back in the same condition it was before the city crews worked on it. On the last photograph, distributed package, you can aerial photograph, you can see more than 5 years ago, it clearly shows that the entrance was there. And for various utility companies. In closing, I have done nothing different than any of these other properties before you. Lifelong citizen of Calvert City, raised my family here, I felt to make most of the job and business in the county, or in this town. I honestly feel I've been targeted, and I've already apologized to John. He said, don't worry about it. Come and show what you got. I have entrance, I have existing feet off the property to show you if you're interested. But again, each one of these properties are closer to the highway than mine. And that's what John said, you are too close to Highway 95. Now, there's more examples. This was only done in 20 minutes. So, but I just picked 5 or 6 of them that I could easily do. And again, where I'm at, and I'd like to, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, whatever.
So are you proposing an entrance on 9th Avenue?
I've already had it. The entrance is
That's
on.
what you would like.
I guess that's, I just want it back like it was. And I use it maybe once every 2 or 3 months.
He bought the property with that.
The
access
entrance.
already there.
And it was all on 9th Avenue.
Yeah, yes.
This picture of it,
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah,
which is what they done.
that's what they dug out. The last Google Earth map you can see is 5 years ago, clearly was there then. I think the very last photograph.
Was there any block property?
I was there 10 years ago. I just have to, the quickest one I could find, yes. The quickest one I could find.
You would definitely want the entrance if there is one on 9th Avenue, not off of 95.
Just for,
Because that's gonna be bigger hazard.
yes, yes.
So. That's all the questions I got.
What are the regulations as far as how far off the highway?
It's 25 feet beyond the right of way. The right of way there goes back. It's a state right of way, it goes across down 5th, and there's 25 feet from that. That's in the actual right of way of both the city and, of course, it crosses the city, and it also is in the right of way of the state.
So it's 25 foot from center line.
No, 25 feet from the right of way edge. That's the edge. In other words, the roadway is not the complete right of way. The right of way extends beyond that because of grass medians and all the infrastructure. And it depends on what the state's right of way is, because there is wider than our right of way. Our right of way is 25 feet from the edge of the right of way.
So was it actually a direct or was it just a single spot in the ditch?
It was, by the way I interpret it, is that it was just what utility companies would drive through. And they drive up the sidewalks of the city, and that's not a driveway. It drives across my front yard to get to the poles, but it's still not a driveway. Just because they used it as an access does not mean it was a driveway. And the ones using it were the utility companies. Because that lot's been vacant for years.
John called me and addressed the issue. There were three legal issues that were involved. One was Article 8.8 is access control. It simply says no point of access shall be allowed within 25 feet of the intersection of the right of ways of streets. So that's the regulation. Now, if someone, the grandfather provision is that if an ordinance, a zoning ordinance is violated, and that is maintained for 10 years, then it is in effect grandfathered in, or if it was in effect, it was being used at the time that the ordinance was passed, and this ordinance was passed in 17, and it's grandfathered in. Well, the use that was, my understanding of the use that it was being put to at the time was that occasionally we would have utility trucks driving through the ditch. It's a very shallow ditch at that point. It's a swale ditch. It's not a ditch with sides on it. It's a swale. water. So people have been driving through the ditch. That's not an access point. You can drive, I don't know, you'd have to talk to the police as to whether or not that actually constitutes any kind of traffic offense. Drive through the ditch, or not. The other significant legal issue is that you cannot excavate in a city right of way without an excavation permit. Meaning you can't move dirt. You can't move dirt on the city's property, with the city right without a permit. If there's a swale and a truck drives through, that's not excavated. But if you move dirt into the swale and onto the city's right of way, if you move dirt onto the city's right of way, that's excavating out right of way. You can't do it without a permit. In this particular case, John couldn't issue a permit because it would be in violation of the 25-foot on the intersection of the right of way streets. So he couldn't issue a permit to excavate there, to put in a culvert or whatever in that swale. And the access point, I think Mark's probably right, that people that, it is the easiest way onto that property is through that ditch, or swale, or whatever you call it. Yeah, but it's been used once a month or some, I mean, you all live lives longer than.
I'm not looking to put a blacktop concrete entrance.
I understand, Mark. I'm just trying to line it up with the
Mark, the gravel is
stuff.
there. About the entrance.
I did not put any gravel there.
That's been there.
It's been there. I did not add any. As you can see, there are two photographs. The city, somebody directed the city to do that and got it out. That's what's there. So my question is, if
Did
it's
you
not
not-
in compliance,
Did you not, I thought you said you got a machine of some sort.
when I backed through there with a trailer and tractor, back there a trailer, it made ruts. I took a tractor and blade and graded my ruts out.
Yeah.
Did not bring any gravel in, did not do anything.
Yeah.
But it made it more noticeable. And then after that is when I got a letter. John was nice enough to give a phone call first. So.
Yeah.
But then got the letter and then I got the, so I guess I'm asking, if mine is not, why is these other ones, which are closer to the road than mine? And there's other examples. I can, yeah. Some of these have not been in existence for 20 years.
If you will. That's those you do. Already back to his motor vehicle, so and that shows what took place.
And it would take a revision of the ordinance. And so we'd have to browse the text, go through the procedure of public hearing. But that's if you guys were inclined to want to try to do that.
Again, I'm not asking for much, just when you use the entrance, it was there.
Well, I got raises. How do we explain these, that others here are also out of compliance? We can't pick on one. We're gonna pick on one guy, pick on all of them, right? I mean,
Those go back to before I was here.
We don't know the fact. The truth is, with regard to anything other than this situation, we don't have the facts. So I have no idea. What
It's the
the
same
situation is with regard to when that was put there. I do know probably all those were there in 2017.
Yep.
And the only thing that caused this one to become in the administrator's view was that swale was filled up.
The grading that took place and filled in.
It was filled up.
That's what brought it to our attention.
Honestly, as it stands right now, with the swale back in the city's right of way, like it always has been, if the trucks want to drive through there, nobody's going to care. it's not a violation of any ordinance for a truck to drive through there, just like they always, for utility truck to drive through there, that's not a problem, just like they always have. For it to continue to be used just as it's always been used is not a problem.
It's just, I don't have the lead. We'll give him a driveway there.
In and make entrance, then we gotta go do something else.
You gotta change.
You have to move 25 feet.
Yeah,
Like 25 feet down the road, so I don't be much further, what's that?
It'll be a little bit further than that. It
Ain't
won't-
gonna be much.
Well, it's gonna be.
Probably another 20.
Where is
Was
that?
that 54?
Probably. I figure it's 100. I don't know exactly. There's a monument marker out there.
Yeah,
But it'll be right here.
so it'd be 50 feet from this center line, you gotta go back that, and then 25 feet off that. Where you gotta go. So it's 75 feet off the center line of 95.
So you don't go back. But still, it needs to be. It needs to be talked about.
If all we want, I mean, are we making something that doesn't be made of? If you're not planning on upgrading it from the way it's been, what do we, I don't understand what the problem.
I think Greg answered the whole thing.
I mean, if the city dumped gravel there, then there's a problem, I think.
The city didn't dump it. City
We moved it with a grate on.
pushed the gravel back out of the ditch.
We scooped it back out.
They just put, what happened was, apparently there was a gravelly road up here, and that was pushed down into the ditch to smooth that out. That's what Mark pushed the gravel in the ditch to smooth it out.
These are the pictures that I sent around.
This way. So,
Mark, those are the pictures that I sent around that took place during that. And so it was leveled out, was what it was. It was graded out.
that wasn't there, and Mark put that there so he could, said he had dug ditches or dug ruts with his trailer or something right there, and so he pushed that gravel in there to smooth that out and build that swale up. So the city went back and put the swale back. But the bottom line is you can't excavate on city property without a permit. You gotta get permission before you can start excavating in the right of way or anywhere else on city property. So you got two or three things going. Yeah, that's right.
I think so, get access to that.
If it was a floodplain, that's excavated. If you move dirt, that's excavated.
That piece of property though, there is no access to it at all.
Well, there's no driveway to it.
I mean, through a ditch, and you don't want that.
Well, all of them go through ditches because that's what we have culverts for.
That's what I'm saying, that's what it's covered in.
Honestly, Mark, if you just go, I don't know how far you gotta go to get 25 feet off right away, but if you just go back 25 feet off the highway, but.
They've already been there for 35 years, and you wanna use what was there, it's easier for me to back in there. If I go down any further, I have to dig a culvert, remember, this is flat, back in there was no problem until I graded with a tractor and it was visible. And again, I'm not beating up on John, he wears that zoning hat very proudly, and he's very good at it. But, I think he's wrong in this, and he invited me up, and I just don't see any way that you can see these other pieces of property. And mine's been there for 35 years.
Well, three of them, well, two of
Some
them are
haven't been
for,
that way. It hasn't been that way for 35.
It's been an entrance for 35 years. And I talked to
And
people,
it can still be.
I
But
agree,
the way
but
it's always been, it can be just like it's always been.
that's all I want. I told you, I don't want to blacktop it, I don't want to concrete it. I want to be able to use what was there, and I want it put back like it was.
I'm looking at two of these examples are parking. And this one here at North Main Street and East A is actually a street by the name of in Arkansas Drive. And so that's not the exact same. So I don't see these three as being. That's parking. That's parking.
That's a drive.
That is also parking of a establishment that has no, it's not a drive-through. That is going. That is for parking. That is for parking
Well, that's all he's gonna do too, then, because.
Well, no, I mean, and if you'll move it down 25 feet, I don't have a problem, but having it right next to a stop sign doesn't make any sense.
How can these other ones make sense?
Well, you're just move it down 25 feet, the way these guys are saying it, and then these others can be looked at on their own, because I think we're here about yours and not the others.
I told you I didn't like bringing it up,
Well,
but I also want to realize, that these are examples, and I don't see any difference in theirs than mine.
well, right now, we're here about yours and only yours. Okay? And a couple of these aren't matching up, but I think it's easy enough just to move it down. Well, also where it's not a safety issue of vehicles pulling in at the stop sign, right on top of the stop sign, where the cars are going to be stopping. Might as well fix one thing at a time.
The point, no, is that it's business way for him.
It's been exactly that way.
It's been that last days.
That drop, well, I pulled up in the arrows and there was not the gravel or anything, all grass.
Again, I'm not driving in there every day. Truck's been using it since the '70s. I don't know what I'm not explaining. I can see it myself.
What you're looking at here is after Mark, in between, and Mays Drive. That's not how it's looked for 30 years. It's looked like a yard.
Yeah, it's always,
Look at the
because I used to bike by there as a kid and it was just
Google
grass.
Maps shows.
But
Well, I'm looking
We're
at,
saying the gravel is new.
I don't know, John may have not been.
I think it's.
The lots,
I think that the lot has got red paint gravel on it.
It does.
And when he scraped it and pulled it in, he leveled out the little rise there and put it into the right of way instead of getting a permit, which I couldn't have given him. We went in there and moved it back to give the drainage back where it was and put the dirt back up on the property, on the road where it was. And that's it.
The real question for you guys is, do you think that ordinance 5.8D needs to be revised? That's the question.
no,
No,
if you're gonna put a new driveway in, it does not, it needs to be at least 25 feet away from the stop sign on the right. Then you're gonna go back to driving. Right. Well, he's done. Right.
Yes.
Essentially, that's what's done. Yes.
But you can't fill the right of way in or do work in the right of way. I don't care if he crosses it there, but he can't do work in the right of way without a permit.
And I understand, I mean, I know there's legalities of this, but what we're saying is, we'd rather have him rut that ditch up rather than put some gravel in to clear that out. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I know there's the legal side of it, but there's the practical side of it, is why would we want somebody to rut the ditch up rather than having some gravel in it to keep the ditch from being rutted up? I don't understand that. And
I think that, if the city authorized something and they went against their ordinances, number one, they put themselves in liability. The first time there's an accident there because somebody blocked someone at the stop, because there's someone at the stop sign, they can't go in there. And they had to stop and there's an accident that it backs up traffic. It's an issue that makes, if you use that on a regular basis, it's like an off ramp. It's not like a driveway, it's an off ramp. But it's just a straight, quick shot off like that. And that's dangerous. And that's one of the reasons why we have the step back from the right of way to protect that. Now this ordinance is newer than a lot of what pictures I've seen. And I know what Mark's saying, because in the old days, that was not part of it.
But what we're telling Mark is it's okay for him to still use this. So we're not disabling the safety side of it. And I agree with everything you're saying as far as from a standpoint of a normal driveway, but we're saying it's okay to keep using it, but but don't put gravel on the ditch.
We're actually not saying it's okay to keep reusing, we're saying it's okay to keep using it as it has been, always been used, which is the rare occasional utility truck crosses the ditch, whenever you just, however often utilities trucks cross the ditch.
And I've got a feeling that's probably because it's in their right of way or in their easement. It's in their utility easement and they use it because their utility easement does not extend 25 feet back. It's right there where their lines are. And that's the reason they stay on it.
It has not been used by the owner of the property. Because there's not an access onto this property, or you gotta get on it somehow. Well, you go to the place where the ditch seems to be the shallowest and you go in there.
What about the easement?
There's gravel all over the whole thing. I think the whole thing is.
So am I
Going
being,
in shallow part.
am I being punished for being the owner of the property now? When other trucks can use it and I'm not gonna be able to?
There's no punishment.
There's no punishment. I can't evidently use it. I mean, I have been,
There's not a drop, there's not an access point. Except you said that there is an access point where utility trucks have gone off and on trucks for the past 35 years.
okay,
That's the only off and on that has happened on that. Wait a minute.
okay.
That's the only off and on that has happened for the past 35 years, according to what you just said. If you want an access point, actually, there is room to put an access point. Just go 25 feet back off the right way.
I wanna use what it's there.
And I understand that you want to use what's there.
Why?
Problem is that you haven't used it for the past 35 years. The oil company truck and whatever other truck has used it for the past 35 years, but they haven't used it every day. It's not an access point. It's just somewhere along that ditch. They cross the ditch to get on there. That's it.
Again, go back to my last sentence. I'm being punished for being a property owner. Why am I being, I don't want to put in another entrance because entrance is there. I don't see any difference in these other.
No, wait a minute. If that's in the right of way, that's not his property.
No.
If that's the right of way, it's not his property. His property goes up to the right of way. It doesn't include the right of way. So that would not be his property.
How is he up? How is driving?
I can't talk about what happened, 50 years ago. I wasn't even here.
I would say it's right before their house. But if they
It's
did,
just my
I'm just
question.
saying.
I'm showing you the example
You can't.
and I don't see any difference.
Utility company and say.
They're using the same roadway, same roadway.
They're using their
It's
easement.
also the same.
That's their easement. They've got round lines there, and that's an easement.
Are they, are.
Because they drive out them at the easement when they get on by. On by.
All I do is get what's there. All I can ask. Concrete and I'm not blacktopping it. What we have to use, what's there.
In order for the grandfather provisions to apply, it has to be, it has to be used in what as an access, as the access. Well, it's not, there's not an access to that. They're just crossing the ditch. There was not a driveway there. There was as you can see, it's barely a ditch. It's just a swale to direct water, to direct stormwater. That's what it's there for, just to direct stormwater. It's a swale and you can drive through it. And so that's what the utility company's done.
The stormwater drainage through there is not that deep any way you go, and it breaks from that corner of 9th and 95 and runs both ways down that way. So, but I think it's more dramatic on that 95 side, isn't it? The drop off. I think so. And the other side is not quite so dramatic. As you can see in his picture, that it's not that dramatic.
Yeah, if you want to know what that corner looked like before Mark fixed it, it looks just like the rest of it. It all looked the same. It's just a swale. It's not really a ditch, it's a swale. And that's what it looked like. And Mark Everett said, he decided that it was better to go in there and smooth it out. Probably just smoothing it out, fixing it out, makes it a formal access point. And it's too close to the corner to be a formal access. So if you want to change the rules, well, of course, you guys can't change the rules, but you're where it starts. you can change those rules if that's what you want to do. But the grandfathering provisions, if you want to, according to what I've heard Mark say, does not qualify as grandfathering in other than what the use has been for the past 35 years. That use was going on in 2017, and that use is grandfathered in. So, there it is.
Recognize that's the next.
Yeah, it looked just like the rest of that ditch. Is the whole lot gravel? Mark?
You know, I mow it, there's a lot of gravel there, probably not the whole lot, but you know, probably a lot of it is, yes.
Probably a branded soil, so it probably does.
Yeah, spot was just important. That had been there for 35 years, but been there for 35 days. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. I'm not telling you guys what direction you want to go in from this point forward. I'm just only telling you where we are now.
We don't have the direction to go. Because we don't want to change the ordinance. We don't want new access point, but within that space, we want the access point where we have to declare. And this is not driving through the ditch. Is not a grandfather access point.
So you're saying the power companies can use it, but I can't use it on my property, is that?
You could drive across.
I
think-
It's like everybody.
Oh, that's all I need to hear.
You're not wanting to do, you just
I'm
move down.
wanting
the
to
road.
hear something. That's it.
As long as you don't do any work in that right of way.
They're gonna have to move it.
You have to drag it back on the property.
If you let it drag it back on.
But you can't do any work in the right of way there.
All I want, I mean, you need to tell him, because if not, I'm gonna do the same thing.
Well, looking at a picture from last year, from a street view, it was just grass. That's all it was. I mean, now it's not, so I think.
Did you see the Google image?
I got to do the women.
So at some point,
It was a great view.
5 years
I
ago?
was in
2018.
I've been going by it for about 30 years. I know how this looks.
So 5 years ago, there was a moment that it was straight up again, and or
Thank you.
the utility companies have been driving through there for doing more work than.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Those that they were.
Well, but not like this. That's excavation.
any work done in that right of way has to have a permit. If you're doing work in the right of way, you have to have a permit. Now, I can't issue a permit for that area for driveway. Now,
That makes sense.
Where
Okay,
you, where you're,
so for Mark's purpose, can that lump of gravel that's in there now be graded level?
it can be graded back. It can't be pushed into the right of way.
But as long as he.
He takes it back, puts it on
property.
his property however he wants to. That's fine. That's his
Well,
business.
but see, and
But is he gonna put it in the right of way? No.
well, but that's in the right of way, what I'm saying. So is it okay for him to go on the right of way to drag that
It
off?
is right now.
That's what I'm afraid. See, that's what, so somebody gotta do that if we want the gravel drug off. City put it there, then, I mean,
Yeah, well, yeah, Mark had pushed it down in the ditch, the city pushed it back out.
but if Mark, if,
We didn't grade it back to where he took it from originally.
but what I'm saying is that for the utility companies to use that right of way right now, that gravel's in the way. Somebody's gotta move that gravel. Can Mark move that gravel or is the city gotta move that gravel?
If it's in the city right away, then the city needs to.
Well, it's probably in both right now.
It would be okay if the city came out there and smoothed it.
Grade it out where I could, yes.
All they're gonna do is grade that lump out. They're not gonna put anything in the right of way.
Yeah, send them out there.
No, in the crossing where the drainage is, they're not gonna put anything there.
Now,
Well, like grading
from
back-
Mark's standpoint, if Mark wants to develop a drive, if you go about 75 feet from the center line of 95 down Ninth Avenue, you could put in a driveway there.
Brad showed you 25 feet too far back. He was thinking it was 50, but it's only 25. So that's one of the reasons it's not as far back as he first showed you, okay?
So the 50 feet is the 95 right away, and 25 feet
I'm
behind.
taking now that's a guess on my part, because I don't know what the state actually had right there. We'd have to ask them to verify. There are markers out there that show you where it is. There's actually a monument on the south side of that intersection, southeast side. And we based off that and come back 25 feet. It should not be a problem. And there's no problem with us issuing a permit for that either.
But the city's got your permission to go up to, if they need to go on your property, push that back and smooth it.
Well, my question is, before I answer that, will I be able to utilize that?
I don't know.
You don't know.
No. What do you mean, can you drive on it?
Yeah.
You can drive through the ditch?
Well, that's all I've been wanting to ask. That's all I've been wanting.
Yes.
Nobody would tell me that.
Yes.
So
You can drive
everybody
through-
hears that here. I will be able to utilize what's there.
You can put material in the ditch to make it any smoother than what it is.
All I've been wanting
Mother
to do.
Nature has to take care of that.
What happens if you don't charge it through the ditch and it fucks it up?
I mean, I'm not asking for.
The problem with just driving through and the ditch, it happens. That's why folks usually put in a driveway or an easement.
I mean, that's the issue, guys. I understand the legalities of it, and the legalities of it make perfect sense. But in this situation, what we're doing is creating a quagmire that we don't know how to fix. Because the next time the utility truck drives there and runs it through, well, then you gotta run it up ditch.
Yeah, whether it's market or
Do we want that?
And if that, and honestly, if you were sitting taking your law school exam and somebody drives through a city right of way and tears it up, then yeah, that's damage to city property. And that's their responsibility to fix it. That's the way that works. And you guys aren't making a problem. You're just determining what the problem is. I mean, that's kind of what it was presented to me. Is this a problem? Well, yeah, we got about 3 problems here. And that's, now, does that mean we think that the city can't change it? No, the city can do it. I mean, they can regulate their own streets and their rights of whatever they want to. As it's regulated right now, there's what you got. And yes, if you drive through the ditch and it doesn't damage the ditch, then you're fine. It's sort of fine, I guess, if the police, if they think you're driving in a reckless manner or creating a hazard, probably you get a ticket for creating a hazard on city street by driving around through the ditches. But we all understand that on occasion, everybody drives through a ditch because you need to get through the ditch, get something in the front yard, or, there's lots of reasons to drive it if you do it safely. And so there you are. But if you damage city property, then it's responsible for damaging city property, including the ditches. But apparently, utility trucks have been driving through this particular ditch for a long time and it hasn't been damaging it. If apparently there's enough gravel on the ground in that part of the world that it'll hold up trucks for the most part.
And they don't go through it every day, so that's a different
Do
thing.
you access that property from your other property? Does it around the front as well? I mean, you come around the front as well. This is
This is
not the
not
only,
something I'll be
this is the
doing.
only way you get.
Yeah, no, it's not something I'm gonna be using every day. But as of right now, I can't use it at all. You know, like I said, I'm not putting a blacktop, concrete entrance or nothing. Just I wanna be able to utilize what's there.
It's still fine. It's still
This has got small dirt. Yeah, and it was because we didn't want to tell city equipment drivers to go up on private property, didn't do around some of the private property. So that's why they pushed it up out of the ditch and up. Came from that property and they didn't. And from that they didn't need to be up on that property working dirt. Without permission.
So it's gravel, but then.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, make sure we're on the same page. Since the city put that there and it's in the city right away, the city's gonna smooth that out. Move that back into and back into the area.
With permission of the property.
Like it, the ditch should be like the ditch is.
If that's in the right of way, we're gonna smooth it out because it's not the permission of the owner that we need. Because it's in the right of way. And we'll smooth it out. If it's on his property, yes, I would say we need it, but if it's not on his property, and that's something else, I gotta verify that it's not on his property. So, but right now, the way I understand it, it's not.
Either way,
I
it
know.
doesn't matter, he's given permission, so.
We'll smooth it out. We'll knock it down at least so it can be. It's not interfering.
Can be utilized.
They told you that.
I wanna hear from you. You're the one that started all that.
That's right, because they're my own.
No, that's not right. And
Yeah.
you can't back John or the city.
I told you, I told you, I put that in the bird, he's in that, I brought it.
The situation is, the city's gonna put that back with your permission, so that they can go on your property and not be trespassing on your property. They're gonna put it back. They're gonna smooth it out. They're gonna push some dirt out of the ditch and smooth it out on your property. And that's what they're gonna do. And then if you want to drive through the ditch, just like anybody else can drive through a ditch, that's your prerogative. But try hard not to ditch it up and screw it up. Because if you mess it up, then that's your problem. If you dig ruts through the city's ditch, then that's a problem. That's it.
If your use of it becomes more than incidental. We encourage you to go down and put in proper culvert, get a permit and put in. a proper culvert.
Well, thank you for listening.
That way.
I think that's.
You need to vote or not?
Clarification. You got what you need? Yeah. Thank you.
Can I have those photographs back? I just need the one that we took.
All right, let's talk about love.
Let's do it.
You do have in your packet, a letter.
Okay. You go also?
Yes, I sent it
Well, John had me scan this in and email.
I emailed it to everybody, but you've got a copy here,
Do you have the email also?
the email.
Yeah.
That he sent?
Yeah.
I do not, I didn't have that printed out.
If you don't mind, just so that they can see it. There's a lot of consideration in his email. So those are the conditions that I had about last time about.
This is basically just a formal letter of what he put in that email. You don't think so?
No, there's a lot more to it.
In the email you're talking about.
Yes. Let me just give you the highlights of this email, okay? Chad is our engineer. And, yeah, if you don't mind printing that off, it'd be great. I know that Gene has had some.
We're enjoying this. We're analyzing the soil on the property. He had the technology.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. It's your board. I'm just here to Gene had some concern because there are, as it turns out, 8.5 acres of paved world out at Love's. Let me just give you the, let me read this thing. Based upon our conversation, it's my understanding that the city has some concerns as related to the protection of the groundwaters and the city's wellhead protection area, which may not specifically be addressed in the current version of the zoning compliance certificate. We also understand that infrastructure currently exists around the fuel pumping areas, which has been designed to capture runoff in the event of an emergency spill and convey it to the oil water separator tanks. Now, let me explain. There was some concern that, you know, somebody, for instance, if somebody drives away and pulls a hose out of a tank, and all of a sudden you've got gas gushing out of a fuel pump. Because we're sitting on top, I understand, but we're sitting on top of the aquifer. What the city's primary concern is that we not contaminate that aquifer. Because if you contaminate that aquifer, you can just put closed signs at all the entrances to the city, but we're done. So good news, what you can see as you look at this stuff is that particular part is in the third priority section of our wellhead protection area, meaning it's not real close. It's about a mile away from our pumps. So we've got a lot of dirt. What Chad makes, the observation that Chad makes is we've got a lot of dirt and natural materials that are serving as filters if you have a little bit of contamination runoff. But if you've got a fuel pump that goes berserk and, you know, hundreds or thousands of gallons out there, you got a new issue. Is this only one?
That's one. It's a trailer. That's a trailer level.
Are you giving this to me or to?
I'm giving it to you. You asked it.
No. I wanted it for them, not me. I've got it right here.
Just give me the top package.
Okay. In any event, around pumping areas where there are pumps, they have berms built to contain any spills, any emergency type spills, and they've got drains that go to the oil water separator, right? Right. And so those kinds of emergencies are addressed currently. With those berms catching any emergency or accidental spill coming out of those things and going to the oil water separator, and then we handle it from there. Okay, so knowing this, it would be recommended to add some language to the zoning compliance certificate that addresses the inspection and maintenance of these drains to ensure that they continue to operate as intended during operations at this facility. So that's easy enough, right? Just to maintain and repair and replace as needed those berms to catch those emergency spills. All right, the remaining area of concern for possible contamination would be pollutant runoff from the parking areas on the property. 8.5 acres of pavement. And these are his bullet points. There's approximately 8.5 acres of paved impervious area on the site. The site includes parking allocated for approximately 90 trucks, 50 passenger vehicles. 3, there doesn't appear to be any active designed retention areas for capturing the parking lot runoff. Okay, so we don't have any berms. We don't have any means of actively capturing stormwater runoff on that 8.5 acres. 4th, the new development is graded to drain away from the wash maintenance bays, not collect runoff from the surrounding area. So it is it is going to, when we have rain on those 8.5 acres, it's running off the edge. It's designed to run off the edges of the bay. It's not collecting it anyway. 5, the site is located adjacent to the flood zone of Cypress Creek along the tributary of Cypress Creek. And importantly, item 6, the site is located approximately a mile from the city's well field. So that's some field good, that's some protection there, that we have some distance. So, as with any parking area, there's always an increased potential contaminant risks that exists as related to leaking tanks, motors, brakes, etc. However, the same risk exists along all traveled roadways and the runoff thereof. Typical standard design practices relate to green spaces to act as a buffer and filter between waterways and parking areas while allowing the vegetation to take up the nutrients, contaminants for normal runoff conditions. This appears to be the standard that was used for the original development of the Love's Truck Stop. While it is the city's ultimate decision, to require additional measures, infrastructure, line to runoff retention basins, etc., to protect the wellhead protection area. It would be my opinion, and this is Chad speaking, it would be my opinion that an approach along the lines of the following would provide adequate and desired protections, given that this existing site is located in zone 3. And again, that's the furthest away from the well fields. You've got zone 1, 2, and 3, and this is the 3 zone. So this is what he would suggest is in the zoning compliance certificate. Number 1, when an event occurs, whether that be a leaking tank, a spill, a wreck, an explosion, etc. Secondly, following notifications of the local Department of Environmental Protection and cleanup of the spill by emergency responders, the city would have the ability and authority to require immediate site monitoring and/or soil groundwater testing. And 3, based on the results of the testing, the city would maintain the authority to require remediation of the contaminated areas in accordance with a DEP, Department of Environmental Protection approved plan. And then Chad said, in conclusion, he says, in my opinion, this approach would be fairly straightforward in application for Love's and also for each of the other listed potential contaminant sources within the wellhead protection. Requiring additional infrastructure would likely lead to factor impacts on similar existing facilities and bring each of the same on board. Treat that as a note. That's Chad's recommendation. He thinks there are basically don't require any additional infrastructure, don't require anything else to be built. Just include as a provision that if there is an event that creates a serious material statement, that the city would have the right to require immediate testing, test wells, testing, and if necessary, remediation. He thinks that would be a sufficient response. I haven't heard from him. So he had a chance to read this. What do you think, Tim? You're the guy on the ground.
I agree with you. I mean, if there is a spill, yes, the city should reserve the right to require the soil be tested for us to be sure that there's none present and we're not gonna get it in our well. I mean, we do the same thing if there's that we require the same thing if there's a tanker truck that turns over on the side of I-24 that's in our wellhead protection area. The state requires because it's in our wellhead protection area.
what do we, I mean, we're not looking at the whole left side, right? This is a change to the left side. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, but we're looking at the whole website.
Once you have a change.
Okay,
Yeah, we're looking at the whole site.
okay.
And the change involves another, a grease trap. Is there a new water separator in the new area?
There's a new well water separator, yes.
Okay, so that would be
It's
two
not
well
a-
water separator
Correct.
and a grease trap. Is there a grease trap in the new area?
All restaurants have grease trap, but I didn't. want it.
Okay.
No, we
had
no
one
restaurants.
for this expansion.
No.
Gotcha. So the other one that we had already drilled last month is on the piece of paper that John handed to you first. And the first one deals with that, with the oil water separator. And basically it's just keep your oil water separator operating, keep it up to date, keep it repaired and maintained, and, a log of all gauge measurement, it will gauge and measure the contents of the oil water separators on a calendar monthly basis. And following any rain events producing rainfall accumulating more than 4 inches. That's all water, sewer, and engineering stuff. Keep a log of all those measurements and the volumes, excuse me. And then deliver those logs to Tim once a month, so Tim can see what's going on. All petroleum products in the separators from time to time will be removed and disposed of in an environmentally safe manner and in compliance with all applicable regulations. That's basically it. The next item was, right now they've got a Jensen model JP 2000 gallon grease trap. Basically, keep it in good working order, and if you need to replace it, replace it. That's basically it. Again, once each calendar month, the contents are going to be measured and keep a log and give that to Tim. Thirdly, and this is a little more involved and a little more important, is the RV dump station. We've got an RV dump station, and we all know if there's anything more dangerous than a toilet, it's an RV dump station. And so the rules for the RV dump station is that the access lid is going to be locked. It's locked all the time except when it's in use. Secondly, only integral solid and liquid waste storage tanks permanently mounted on recreational vehicles are going to be allowed to discharge. Can't discharge buckets of all customers wishing to utilize the dump stations are going to get parked first to put their vehicle in the right place, so they're not running hoses all over creation before they come and get a key to unlock the lid. So
Nobody gets that key. That's the store's key.
Right.
So an associate would be escorting the dump.
Right.
Even better.
All customers wishing to utilize the dump will park their their RV prior to receiving a key to the dump access, and then Love's will put a sign out there telling everybody that only integral solid liquid storage tanks are going to be allowed to discharge. And then prior to receiving the key to the dump, and or somebody going out there with you.
Same key for the propane, and same key for everything, so nobody's getting the key unless they're associated.
At John's suggestion, I'm going to revise that subparagraph E because of the personal information involved. We're going to let Love's keep that. We don't want that to be delivered to the city. Just keep it out there so that Tim can stop by and look at it, or if we have a problem, we can stop by and look at it. But just keep the log out at Love's. And then it never becomes a public record subject to public disclosure or something that somebody can argue about. It's a public record and you have to let me see it. We don't want it. long as we don't have it in our possession, it's not a public record.
That dump load is more for your, for Lowe's protection than it is.
I'm not with Lowe's. I'm just trying to build for Lowe's. For a while. But this record is where they do have a problem, you know, they can go back and go, well, who was the last?
Yeah. We've got the time and the date, the name, address, and phone number, making sure the RV, the license on the RV, and approximately the gallons of discharge. That's what Tim said, that's gonna give him enough that if he can back up into it, he can do it. And then, the clerk receiving, the clerk of the fuel desk is gonna keep the driver's license until they're complete and the access lid is secure and locked. And then the clerk receiving the key is gonna ensure that the dump access lid has been properly resecured. And then finally, the complete and accurate copies of the monthly dump safety logs are not going to be posted, but they're going to be kept on the site. And then, Lowe's has agreed to install the flow meter that we, I don't know if you guys remember talking about that or not, but there's a lot of water that comes into Love's that's not, that goes to the sewer, but it's not metered. And so what we're gonna do is catch it on the way to the lift station and meter it. Tim has spec that meter. Did you ever hear from them on what it was they were gonna buy? So I'll use that. I'll just include that, but they'll
We
be
give
able
them the spec for that, Tim.
and then they'll pay their sewer charges in accordance with the flow meter. And then, they actually 5, I think, can come out.
Yeah, number 5
because
can
they've
come out.
already amended their plan.
If you look, it had been done, we just overlooked it, and there, on the south side of the parking here in the front, where they've got the actual canopy for the vehicles for fueling, comes straight down, and it's the third one right in the middle. It says relocate dog park. It was there, we just missed it over this last time. So they do have a location that is completely on the park, on the property and out of the right of way. So they've got that covered already.
And in the wellhead protection area, it's simply required that any development, receive the approval of water and sewer before it is approved. With these items that we have just discussed, that I've just discussed tonight, is that acceptable to water and sewer under those conditions? Okay. So you have that. So that part is done. What else is there, John? Okay. So
Can they do a conditional
I think.
acceptance now?
Yeah, if you guys are willing to leave it to me to amend that language. Yeah, to amend that language, to address what we talked about tonight, then we can.
I guess, Chris, I think last month, maybe a draft of this, you and Chad had talked about it. I think you mentioned you were gonna check with whoever in Love's. Is that okay with Love's? They agreed to all that. You know,
I don't know what you're showing me there.
What updated thing I just said?
yeah, it's not what Chad went over last month, but
I talked with their people today. And once, if you guys are acceptable to this, then we'll submit it to them for their approval. So I talked to Mr. Gill and Nico and 2 or 3 other people today, so.
Tim's happy. So I hear a motion, we approve this with Griggs, with the changes to make. Got a move by Joel, got a second by me, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed by like sign? And we'll get this thing moving, so. All right, so this now will go back to Love's. If as soon as they approve it, then that's, we'll put this in.
Then Greg gives me the updated copy. I'll just forward that off to Mr. Giles and Mr. Nico and what they said.
I'll get it done.
I think
So
also.
that would be part of their conditional use anyway.
If you were gonna check and see if the logs on the existing old stuff, all one separator. Is that kept somewhere? Do you know what they give it up?
I told, you know,
We've got it.
they've all been surrendered.
Okay.
I've got all,
He's got
I
it.
think
Got all
that's
the
years.
years?
That's years.
Good.
Okay, they've been, I think everything that they could get their hands on, they've sent us.
The ground water protection plan, or that was discussed, and that's in order now as well.
The groundwater protection plan is in effect, incorporated into those conditions.
But one thing I didn't hear you talk about, you talked
Yeah,
about all the other items about that.
Yeah, those berms that I was talking about, to fix the emergency or catastrophic overflow, that's part of it. In the event of a catastrophic event, that they'll think test wells and so forth, that's part of the groundwater protection. So all of that stuff that came in from Chad is in effect the groundwater protection, all of it taken together is.
Right, and all those are already been.
Well,
But, okay, so the
it's not there
the
yet.
groundwater protection plan you're talking about is Skinny Grove.
No,
That's
Love's. That's Love's. It's Love's groundwater protection. We have a wellhead protection plan.
Yes.
That is the city's plan, but that particular site has a groundwater protection plan, as does Speedway across the way.
So as far as Chris is concerned, this goes back to Love, once they're approved, that then turn him loose, what does he need from you, John?
He didn't need anything else of me, other than, we'll just issue the building permit. No, I don't do the building permit, that goes to the county. I think you've already got it, don't you? Go ahead and file for it now. I mean, this won't hold you up from getting a building permit. This holds you up from doing anything as well as a building permit, would, but the county does it. I'll get you contact information. But yeah, I mean, the zoning compliance and the development plan approval, that's to you guys, and as soon as you've approved it conditionally, you know, that these conditions are met. And so we'll send that off to them, make sure that they have they want to challenge them or question that. And if they don't, then I guess it's good to go. Well, it would be good to go. But I've just got, the only thing I'm wondering on is that they're gonna agree to everything that we've got there. But I think they will. It's just a matter of just give me something in writing. Because these are changes from the original development plan.
But as far as Chris is concerned, from the city, everything that he would have would just way between you and he. Once you get the approval back from Love,
That's correct.
you can.
As far as the city goes, yeah. Once he gets that back, I'll give you a copy of the proof of zoning compliance. Greg, is there any way that, and I don't know what your schedule is tomorrow, or even, but we have to get this by Wednesday, maybe?
I put it on my calendar for Wednesday morning to do it.
Okay, because I'll be gone Thursday and Friday. I didn't want
Tomorrow I'm wall to wall, but, Wednesday, call me. Okay, hopefully I'll already be working.
okay, because I'm just gonna pick it up and send it on.
It already exists. It's just tweaking things. It's gonna take a long time.
All right, I just want to get it out to them as quickly as I can, so I don't have to wait till Monday to send it out.
Just for to let y'all know, Johnny mentioned he's got some information coming for us on what other communities are doing about both parking research and our yard storage. That's pathetic. So they get that info and then we can.
That will actually be competing with the International Planners Association meeting in Wisconsin. So they're all there. So I'm not getting anything back because they're all in Wisconsin.
Sound like you should go to the meeting, John. They need to go.
What was the parking thing? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
What was the parking thing?
Parking was, some communities are just doing away with parking regulations because they're letting the developers They say, well, the developer knows what you gotta have for this park. I said, well, some developers may do. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to do is find out what the reasoning is and see how they approach this. But from what it sounds like, they're just letting the developer make up their mind on what the parking should be. The other thing is, okay, if that's indeed the case, are they relying on city streets to be their parking lots?
Understand. A motion to adjourn. Motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Meeting adjourned at 6:41.